My name is Brian McClendon. I'm in charge of Google Maps, Google Earth, Street View, and SketchUp. But I wasn't always in mapping. Back in 1991, 20 years ago, I worked at a company called Silicon Graphics. And we had 3D workstations that were used to make movies and create flight simulation and so forth. But we had a proprietary standard called IrisGL. And we realized that many of the other companies in the industry wanted to standardize. And so we decided to reinvent IrisGL and create a new graphic standard called OpenGL. We put this out to the industry, and Sun Workstations and many of the other big companies today, including Microsoft, adopted it. And we created a new industry for 3D graphics. API providers and applications and hardware vendors could all use the same thing. In 1996, the last year I was at Silicon Graphics, we built a machine called Infinite Reality. This machine could do 100 million polygons per second. And we needed some demos to show how good it was. And this particular demo might look familiar to you. It was called From Space to In Your Face. This was actually a bandit video that hasn't been seen in public in many years. It was digitized from a VHS tape that we sent out to sales. And this shows the power of 3D in its day. It was the ability to zoom out from outer space down to the ground level and have high-resolution textures and terrain, in this case of the Matterhorn, and you're able to pan and zoom and see off into the distance, and it was a great demo. It inspired us, a group of us, to actually leave Silicon Graphics, and in 2001, found a company called Keyhole. We released EarthViewer. This used commodity 3D graphics PCs to do the same thing, but it had to do it in software because we didn't have the hardware technologies that the SGI machines did. But just then, we were just at the point where graphics hardware was good enough that some machines could run this application and have the same experience we'd seen back in '96. Google took a look at this in 2004 and got very interested, and they acquired us. And they, through the power of both their servers and their ability to help us buy satellite data, allowed us to expand the service and release it as a free product called Google Earth Free. And this product actually has been downloaded, we announced last week, 1 billion times, making it the single most organically downloaded product in history. So, also in 2005, we released Google Maps. And this was a web-based application that allowed you to pan and zoom using Ajax. It was one of the first and most powerful Ajax applications. And APIs on top of this are now used in 700,000 websites around the world, embedding this technology on their site. We continued to innovate, and in 2010, we added 3D graphics to the mobile version of Google Maps. This runs on Android. And it also used OpenGL. So the ability to draw 3D graphics has slowly migrated down to less and less capable platforms. But there's one left, the desktop. And today, we'd like to introduce MapsGL, the combination of Google Maps and the WebGL standard, bringing 3D graphics to your web browser without a plugin. And for that, I'd like Evan Parker to do a demo.
Thank you, Brian. My name is Evan Parker, and I'm really excited to be here today to show you guys MapsGL. So what you're looking at here is Google Maps, the same Google Maps we all know and love. But down here in the corner, I see something. It says, "Want to try something new?" What do you guys think? Should we try it? Try it now. When I click that, it's going to test to see that my computer and browser can run MapsGL. Once it's determined that it can, page reloads, and now we're in MapsGL. Now it looks pretty much the same as before, right? That's Google Maps. But underneath the hood, we've completely replaced the engine that draws the map. Every single frame is being drawn by WebGL here. Every bit of text on the map, every line, every road is being drawn using WebGL. Let's take a look at this hotel we're in, the Sheraton Hotel in New York. So the first thing you see is the smooth zooming. That wasn't possible before. The next thing you see is labels fade in and out smoothly as we zoom in. As we keep zooming in, you start to see the 3D buildings pop out of the ground. And this is 3D. This is 3D in the browser. Can you guys believe this is possible? The parallax here where the buildings lean away from you really gives you a sense of how tall the skyline is in New York. Now I want to show you guys what we can do with some of the beautiful imagery we have now that we have WebGL. Let's take a look at the Colosseum in Rome. So once again, everything here is rendered using WebGL. Every bit of text, every line, all the imagery is rendered using WebGL. And one of the things that WebGL allows us to do is do really smooth animations and transitions. So watch as I zoom in here. It's going to pop out of the ground in 3D. So this is again using WebGL. We're using the 3D structure of this building, combining it with the imagery, and rendering it in the browser using WebGL. So that as you rotate around it, you can see the 3D structure of it as if you're flying around it in a helicopter. It helps you keep context. Your eye can track it just like it looks at things in the real world, because we're rendering it in the same way that your eye would see it as if you were flying around it in a helicopter. If we keep zooming in here, then we just drop down into Street View. Let me do that again. I really love this transition here. I could do that all day. So I'm going inside the Colosseum here into one of our special collections with Street View. The pictures here were taken on what we call a trike. It's a three-wheeled bicycle with a camera on top of it that a guy pedals into the Colosseum. And then we've got pictures of this beautiful 2,000-year-old piece of architecture. I've never visited here, but now I feel like I have because I can see it inside Street View. And again, all this is rendered using WebGL. That label on the ground, this little circle, basically everything you see in the viewport here is rendered using WebGL. It really opens up a whole new world of possibilities for rich web apps. Before I finish, let me bring it back to New York. How many of you have heard of Highline Park in New York? So I haven't been there myself, but I feel like I have because I've seen it on Google Street View. Let's take a look at it here. This is another special collection of ours that we're really proud of. And this hasn't been shown in public before, but there you go, Highline Park. All rendered using WebGL, just beautiful imagery. And I want to tell you all that I'm going to be doing a session on WebGL at 11:15 p.m. 11:15 a.m. in the New York East Room on the 3rd floor. And it'll be a conversation about WebGL, so I invite you all to join me there if you're interested in pushing the web forward with WebGL. So, back to Brian.
Okay, thank you very much, Evan. So, this last image here, you might know if there's sometimes some impromptu performances you can witness from Highline Park. So, we've used actually HTML5 to do this presentation, and we're very interested in pushing the next generation of web technologies forward. With WebGL, we're able to render vector maps dynamically based on what the user needs. So more personalization is possible. We're also able to bring in 3D imagery, ortho-rectified photos, and Street View without a plugin. I think that's a big point for us. It makes it much more accessible, higher performance, and easier to use. So what should you do? Try it out. It works on Chrome, Firefox 8 Beta, on Safari if you enable WebGL. It works very well on ATI and NVIDIA graphics cards and some Intel chipsets, but we're working with the browser providers and also with chip manufacturers to improve the drivers and improve the graphics so that it will run everywhere. So give it a try, and we'd really like to see this as Google helping WebGL be brought into browsers as a whole. Thank you very much.